Nana Shastra Vichanek Nipano Sahadharma Samsthapakam Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Mahanyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravindra Bhajana Nandena Mattalikayo Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. Hare Krishna devotees. So we are resuming our discussion. Just before the break, we concluded chapter 7, and now we're going to start with chapter 8. Offenses to be avoided. This is only the 19th item. So here, just to give you a little summary, there are two kinds of aparadh which have been highlighted: seva aparadh and nam aparadh. And the list of all that is given. We'll see how much we can read through it, or else it could be a homework for all of you to read later on. Let me go to my presentation. I will see from there. The essence of sadhana is to fix the mind on Krishna. An offense is something very important, that takes the mind away, aparadha, from Krishna by minimizing his importance. Categories of offenses, there is seva aparadh and there is nama aparadh. So there is also category. They're not at the same level. It's important to understand that. We'll take a look at it. What is the relative importance of each? Seva Aparadh is less serious than Nama Aparadh because the power of the holy name automatically corrects the offensive mentality generated by Seva Aparadh. So, if in case we have committed some mistake while running service, what are the aparadh which are given in the book in chapter 8? How do we overcome them? How do we rectify? By taking shelter of Harinam. This does not mean one may be neglectful in deity worship, knowing that the holy name will save them. Employing the holy name like a rag to mop up the filth of one's sin is an offense to the holy name, deliverance from which is very difficult. Then it becomes namaprad. Chanting will eradicate sins, you know, but if one offends the holy name, there is no chance of being delivered. So, seva prad, you can overcome that by taking shelter of Harinam. But when we make offenses to Harinam, then how do you overcome that? So that is considered to be more serious and severe. So let's take a look at it. This is 118 shloka, which is starting our 8th chapter. Seva nam aparadhanam varjanam yatha varahe. Mamarchana aparadhaye kirtayante vasudhe maya. Vaishnavena sadate tu varjanya paryatnataha. Avoiding seva and namaprad, this is verse number 81, illustrated in the Vara Purana. The devotee should avoid the offenses in deity worship described by me, O earth, at all times with great care. So, if you take a look in your book in the first paragraph, there are approximately 32 offenses which are mentioned, which are related to seva prad or uh, deity worship like this. Can we quickly just read through with that? Or before we get into it, should I tell you one interesting incident? Let's read through it. Then we'll do it. Somebody would like to read all those 32 offenses which I mentioned here? Mother Kamalika, your hand is up. Let's do a quick reading.
One should not enter the temple of the deity in a car or palanquin or with shoes on the feet.
Okay, before just
2.
a little, just a point. What is the idea of all this thing? Is actually any of these things leads to disrespect of the deities. Any of these things actually makes us forgetful of the deity. That's the principle. So the idea, that's not the principle, that's the detail. The idea is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Smartavyo satatam Vishnu vismartavyo na jatuchit. We discuss sarve vidhi nishedha syu. That we discuss at the end of the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. There are many rules, but the essence of all rules is always remember, never forget Krishna. That's the principle here. Let's go ahead. Next.
2. One should not fail to observe the various festivals for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such as Janmashtami and Ratha Yatra. 3. One should not avoid bowing down before the deity. 4. One should not enter the temple to worship the Lord without having washed one's hands and feet after eating. 5. One should not enter the temple in a contaminated state. According to Vedic scripture, if someone dies in the family, the whole family becomes contaminated for some time, according to its status. For example,
So I had
if
as a timing is given, those are details. What does it mean by contamination? It doesn't refers to physical contamination, refers to mental contamination. What is that mental contamination? Because loss of any relative is definitely is painful, and there because the nature of mind is it the pain attracts or attention the attention of the mind. If in case we have had a loss of something, our mind naturally goes into the subject again and again. So the idea is when you come in front of the DT, it should not be while looking at the DT, we are crying, not for the DT, but we are crying for the relative. So the timeline which is given here is a general principle that it takes this many days for devotees to our not devotees, sorry, this many days it takes for the people according to Varnashrama, according to the status, to overcome the loss of a deceased, कहते हैं, the family member who has passed away. That's the idea, all right? That's the meaning of it, not other contamination here. Actually, the same holds true when the birth of a child happens. Even at that point of time, there is a waiting period before you can go to temple. Because when you have somebody take birth in your family, then it's a period of celebration. So the mind, particularly the waiting period, is not for the whole family, but particularly for the husband and wife, because then their mind is too absorbed about their child. The beautiful face of the child keeps on coming in front of their mind again and again. So then as I said, well, तुम थोड़े टायर्ड हो जाओ उसके चेहरे को देख देख कर फिर जाना भगवान के पास. So there's a waiting period for that, like that. Next, 6 points.
one should not bow down on one hand. 7. One should not circumambulate in front of Sri Krishna. The process of circumambulating the temple is that one should begin circumambulating from the deity's right hand side of the temple and come round. Such circumambulation should be performed outside the temple structure at least 3 times daily.
That is
8.
called as
One should not
circumambulation is called as pradakshina. And from the word pradakshina comes parikrama. So we were discussing last Sunday about it. Continue.
8. One should not spread his legs before the deity.
So this is some of the
9.
points are self-explanatory. Spread his legs means to show one's feet to the Lord. In fact, according to basic etiquette, one should not show the feet even to one point here.
9. One should not sit before the deity holding the ankles, elbows, or knees with one's hands.
You understood that, right?
10.
Sometimes we sit in a lotus posture, but we get tired. We raise our ankles and then we hold it like this. This is a very inappropriate way of sitting because the lower part of body becomes visible. That's the reason it is said we should not sit like this. Okay.
10. One should not lie down before the deity of Krishna. 11.
Lie
One should
down.
not accept,
One should not lie
one should
down.
lie.
Yeah. Which means, कई बार होता है जब हमारा प्रणाम करने का मौका आता है, कई बार डिवोटीज लंबे समय तक के लिए उठते ही नहीं है. वो बेचारे थके हारे होते हैं तो ऐसा प्रणाम करते हैं उठते ही नहीं है. So I mean I'm joking. The lie down in the sense, yeah, don't sleep. Okay.
11. One should not accept prasada before the deity.
Mm-hmm.
12. One should never speak a lie before the deity.
What is the idea
13.
before? What is the idea about one should not speak a lie before the deity? What does it mean? One should not speak a lie before the deity.
The Lord knows everything, what is true, what is false, what is right, what is wrong. And then we are on top of it saying that, something lie, we are speaking a lie. That means we are actually disrespecting the Lord. The Lord knows what is right and what is truth.
Correct. And that way the Lord is omnipresent also. So don't speak a lie in front of deity means don't speak a lie in your bedroom also. Or don't speak a lie in the kitchen also. Why specifically said do not speak a lie in front of the deity? What you're saying, mother, is correct.
Speaking,
The point
Vijay,
is,
speaking line,
go ahead.
uh,
Disregarding the presence
it
of the
means
Lord. The idea is, which means the Lord is hearing you, and you have said something, and you are not intending to do it. It's just like how disrespectful it is. Imagine a junior come in front of the senior and he says something. Generally, anything that would happen in our culture, there would be a sakshi. Like you have, when what you say, fere lagte hain. Agni Devta is sakshi, Brahmana is sakshi. What are they? These are senior, and your parents are also there. So seniors are always are the witness that yes, we acknowledge these things have happened. So therefore, in general principle is in front of seniors, we don't speak a lie. So therefore, in front of a DT, we don't speak a lie. Just like the thing is, we don't shout. Now, these are the things need to be discussed and taught as much as during the COVID time, there were advertisement going on. खाने से पहले, खाने के बाद हाथ जरूर धोना. you know, these are the things which people knew from earlier, in the previous generation. They knew, बड़ों के सामने झूठ नहीं बोलना, बड़ों के सामने आवाज ऊंची नहीं करनी. So these are the things, but these are mentioned now at least. So that's the point here, because whatever we say, then we are obliged to do it in front of the DT. Go ahead.
12. One should never speak a lie before the deity. 13. One should not talk very loudly before the deity. 14. One should not talk with others before the deity.
So my
15.
question here is, one should not talk very loudly before the DT. We have this Guru Puja. Of course, later on Hare Krishna Kirtan is going on, but we have Guru Puja. And Guru Puja, there is no reference to Krishna, right? Shri Guru Charana Padma, it's all glorification of the Guru. There's no reference. ऊपर से speaker लगा के वेम्पल धामाधोड़ धापाड़दोड़ धापाड़दोड़, you know. And so what does it exactly mean one should not speak loudly before the DT? One should not do prajalpa. Okay. What else? So when it
We
comes to
should not chastise
glorification of
other
the
people.
Lord and the glorification of the devotees is more or less one at the same level. You know, it's actually mentioned in front of the Lord. No one else should be offered respect. But we do Guru Puja after Darshanarti. So now in Srila Prabhupada's time, even Prabhupada was personally present, and then Guru Puja would happen after Darshanarti. So a disciple asked Srila Prabhupada, this thing, Prabhupada, and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said in front of deity, nobody should be worshipped. It is mentioned further, you read it, even Guru should not be glorified. Then Prabhupada explained, see, the idea is if, no, Prabhupada said, Are Krishna is already famous. How much ever you glorify, your glorification is not going to help Krishna. But Krishna is more pleased when you glorify his devotee. So that's the essence of it. That's how we take a look at it. All right, continue.
15. One should not cry or howl before the deity. 16. One should not quarrel or fight before the deity. 17. One should not chastise anyone before the deity. 18. One should not be charitable to beggars before the deity. 19. One should not speak very harshly to others before the deity. 20. One should not wear a fur blanket before the deity. 21. One should not eulogize or praise anyone else before the deity.
So one should not
22.
praise. So, Guru Puja is a praise. So that's the point. Vaishnavas can be glorified. Go ahead.
22. One should not speak any ill names before the deity.
So, reading some of this
23.
thing, how many of you think, बचपन में सुना करते थे कि महाभारत लाओगे तो घर में महाभारत शुरू हो जाएगी. Now, after reading this, if you bring deities, existing Mahabharata will stop. You cannot chastise, you cannot shout, you cannot call each other ill names. Family life will become like Ram Sita relationship, peaceful. Okay, continue.
23. One should not pass air before the deity. 24. One should not fail to worship the deity according to one's means. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the Lord is satisfied if
So I'll
some
give you the
devotee
summary.
offers him.
What it means is, if like you are like Kola Vecha Sridhar, who just made 50 cents a day, Even that 25 cent he used in worship of Mother Ganges, and he used 25 cent in the worship of his deities or in his, doing needful thing. So, but if somebody is like Ambani, he take out 25 cents from his wealth. What is the value of it? So, according to one's means and capacity, one should render service to the Lord. According to one's, that's the point here. Text number, next point, 25th point.
25. One should not eat anything which is not offered first to Krishna. 26. One should not fail to offer fresh fruit and grains to Krishna according to the season. 27. After food has been cooked, no one should be offered any food stuff unless it is first offered to the deity. 28. One should not sit with his back towards the deity. 29. One should not offer obeisances silently to the spiritual master, or in other words, one should recite aloud the prayers to the spiritual master while offering obeisances.
So the idea is
30.
prayers should be recited, audibly. One of the prayer that we recite is when we meet Vaishnava, we says Vancha Kalpa Tarupyasha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama. It should not be, made silently. Actually, does anyone know the history of how this prayer was introduced by Srila Prabhupada? So for everything, there has an incident because of which these different aspects were introduced. And how does this pranam mantra to Vaishnavas introduced? After this particular book came out, a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, day in, day out, we commit so many aparadhas or offenses towards devotees. How do we rectify? In the next chapter, which is chapter 9, the very first point is blasphemy. How do we deal with that? How do we counteract that? Then Srila Prabhupada said, well, one should offer obeisances to the devotee and beg for forgiveness. Then he asked, Prabhupada, is there any set formula? And then Prabhupada said, yes, there is a set formula called as Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada instituted that in the morning program. If you see a morning program, there's a Mangala Aarti, there's a Tulsi Aarti, there's a Nasima Aarti, there's a Tulsi Aarti. And what happens at the end of Tulsi Aarti? Then everyone offers pranam to Vaishnavas. So when we are offering pranams to the Vaishnava, it has to be done in the mood. My dear Lordships, you are in front of the Lordship, you are in front of Prabhupada. Kindly forgive me for the offenses that I might have committed knowingly, unknowingly towards other Vaishnavas. And we should recite out this pranam mantra loudly. That is a point here, and that is how Srila Prabhupada instituted this. All right. Now, one idea is to do it like this. Another is, in case if you know to whom you have committed aparadh, we go and offer obeisances. Sometimes what happens, we don't even know we have committed aparadh to somebody, but the reactions follows through. Then we understand. So then we offer obeisances like this. Okay. So now, other thing is, why Srila Prabhupada instituted this? Through this, everyone is covered. Now, it is not that junior only offers to senior or junior, does not offer to anyone. Now, at least whom to be offered obeisances, first of all? A senior needs to be offered obeisances and a peer needs to be offered obeisances. And you can receive obeisances from junior. And it's up to you. Ideally, one should not reciprocate, but it's up to you. This you will see when Krishna would meet Yudhishthira Maharaj, or Nakul said that Krishna would offer obeisances to Yudhishthira Maharaj and he would receive obeisances from Nakul and Sahadev. If you read the first canto of Mahabharata, you will see that. But when it comes to peers, peer is such category that nobody wants to offer any respect. you know, all our frustration, all our animosity really gets vented out to this category called as peer. So how do you, really make a wonderful relationship there? So Prabhupada instituted a system when everyone is in the temple, your senior, your peer, your junior, everyone together offer obeisances to everyone. So, there is no conflict. Imagine Prabhupada said, okay, offer obeisances. And Prabhupada would not have instituted as a system. Now imagine devotees offering obeisances to one but not to another one. So he's thinking, hey, मेरा junior है. And वो सोचा है तो मेरा peer है. तलवारें निकलेंगी नहीं निकलेंगी. So standard, अब कोई कुछ भी सोचता रहे, बड़ा है, छोटा है, सबने एक दूसरे को पढ़ाव कर लिया. Now rest of the day, now nobody has an expectation from you to receive obeisances. Once for all is done. So like that, Prabhupada said, okay, in the morning you do it, cover it up. Please go ahead, Mother.
30. One should not fail to offer some praise in the presence of the spiritual master. 31. One should not praise himself before the spiritual master. 32. One should not deride the demigods before the deity.
Continue the other from Vara Purana. Next, one should not touch the deity in dark room.
1. One should not touch the deity in a dark room. 2. One should not fail to strictly follow the rules and regulations in worshipping the deity. 3. One should not enter the temple of the deity without first making some sound.
So all of you would
4.
have
One should
probably heard of this, learned of this. We first knock. It's a basic thing. Once you're entering the room of anyone, shouldn't you knock to draw their attention? Or we just sometimes you've seen people, they just barge into it. Sometimes so many instances that I'm sitting in my guest room and doing my work. Suddenly I look behind and there's somebody standing. And I'm like, "Oi, kaun aa gaya?" I'm sitting working on my laptop, and some reason I just turned behind and somebody just standing right on my head. Oi, kaun aa gaya idhar?" So peacefully they will open the door. They'll come and come. Why? There is something called as knocking the door. If the door is locked, you knock at least. Don't barge into the room like this. And sometimes some people would barge with a bang. Dam. And then also, "Arey, kya hua?" So, we all would have an experience. So knock on the door politely, and then, the other person becomes attentive like this. In this regard, a question was asked to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, every time we enter the temple, or let me ask this question to all of you, let's see what you answer if in case you know of or not. Every time we enter the temple hall, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says we should offer our respect to the deities. But in the temple hall, there is a situation when you enter, then at certain times, the altar doors are closed. Now, should we offer our obeisances to the deities? Yes or no? How many of you say we should offer our obeisances? Because deities are there. Altar is closed. How does it matter? Lord is omnipresent. Lord can see, na? So we should offer our obeisances. And how many of you think, well, altar is closed. Why should I offer obeisances? What's your idea? So I give you three options. First option is yes. If you would enter the temple hall, you will offer obeisances. Second option is no. भाई बंद है अभी क्यों करने का है नहीं देख रहे वो तो तीसरा नहीं पता I have no idea. So you can 1, 2, 3. You can raise your fingers like that, so I'll understand. So how many of you say we'll enter the temple hall? Altar is closed. We should offer obeisances. You can put it with one finger. Okay. All right. So how many of you say we enter the temple hall? It says when you enter the temple, you should offer obeisances to the deities. The altar is closed because it is not clearly mentioned here what you should write. It is just said you enter the temple or offer obeisances. The question rises: the altar is closed. What to do? So if the altar is closed, we should not offer obeisances. How many will say? Second option. Okay. ये बर्थडे बैलून्स कौन उड़ा रहा है ये ऑटोमेटिकली आता है अपने आप ही हाँ एंड द थर्ड इज आई एम नॉट श्योर व्हाट टू बी डन I am not sure what to be done. Okay, so maybe we can take quick one or two inputs. Those from the first option, we should offer obeisance. Is that reasoning is yes because Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says? Is that the reasoning? All right. What is the reasoning for those who says we should not offer obeisances when we enter the temple hall if the altar is closed? What is your reasoning? Yes, Kamalatru.
Maybe my offering obeisance will disturb him, or if someone is honoring prasadam, then if I'll offer obeisance, that may disturb him.
Okay, very nice. Anything else? Should we offer obeisances?
Same, Prabhu.
Yes, Kuntal Prabhu.
So basically, deities are most of the time when it is closed, they are taking taking the offering, or they are basically resting. While resting, then it is inappropriate to go and disturb them. That's it. I could not hear what Kamalnath Prabhuji said, but that is the.
Oh, the sound was okay. So, all right. When this question was asked to Prabhupada, what did Prabhupada said? Prabhupada said we should not circumambulate or offer obeisances. Why? Because when you offer respect to the Lord, Lord wants to reciprocate. But in that situation, because Lord cannot reciprocate, these are the exact words of Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, Lord feels frustrated. Because he cannot reciprocate to his devotees at that point of time, the Lord feels frustrated. So therefore, devotee does not offer respect or circumambulate the temple when the altar is closed. Either Lord is honoring prasadam or it's a rest time or whatever situation like that. So you see a little sense of personal connection here. Why, Bhagwan also want to reciprocate, but he cannot because in that situation he's honoring prasadam, he's sleeping, then he feels unhappy about it. So that's the reason. Okay, continue, mother.
4. One should not offer any foodstuff to the deity which has been seen by the dogs or other lower animals. 5. 8. Useless flowers without any fragrance should not be offered. 9. One should not fail to wash his teeth very carefully every day. 10. One should not enter the temple directly after sexual intercourse. 11. One should not touch a woman during her menstrual period. 12. One should not enter the temple after touching a dead body. 13. One should not enter the temple wearing garments of red or blue color or garments which are unwashed.
Hare Krishna.
14. One
Chalo, everything is clear, makes sense. One should not enter the temple wearing garments of red or blue color. How many devotees have seen with the red and blue color kurtas these days now dancing in a kirtan in front of deities only? So question was asked to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, that's okay. The idea is always remember Krishna. Don't, just कहते हैं रुई की खाल निकालने वाला. So that's okay. All right, we can have another devotee read now. Further, we are from where? 14th point. Mother Pragati, your hand is up. Go ahead now.
14th point.
Prabhupada
One
said,
should
so be
not
it.
enter the temple after seeing a dead body. 15th point. One should not pass air within the temple. 16th point. One should not be angry within the temple. 17th point. One should not enter the temple after visiting a crematorium. 18th point. One should not belch before the deity. So, until one has fully digested his food, he should not enter the temple. 19th point. One should
Uh-huh.
not smoke marijuana.
How should I mean, there are certain things. I mean, I guess it'll be too many details. All of you, please read out at leisure. I just thought we'll read it because so at least some of the things, if in case you don't catch up later on. Fine, fine, fine. Um, uh, at the home, there are certain concessions. I'll probably come to the next topic here now, the importance of deity worship. Nonetheless, you can read it out, but we'll focus on the important because this should not scare us from doing deity worship. But before we get into deity worship, I like to quote one incident of an offense that happened in relationship to a deity. Very interesting story that comes. I'm just going to read out the memoir as it is because that is best expressed by the devotee who herself committed this very, very serious offense. And the story begins in, I'm reading out the big mistake that happened, and let's see if you're able to capture the essence. In Dallas in 1972, the deities Shri Radha Kala Chand Ji arrived the same day as Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada wanted them installed in 2 days. Now, this Radha Kala Chandji deities was very unique deity within whole ISKCON. This was not something which had been carved recently, but these are the deities which had been worshipped for centuries together, which means they were already installed deities, which were now brought to America. However, when these deities came, they were covered with sticky and little pieces of burlap, and cloth was stuck to painted areas like their eyes and so on. The head pujari, Mother Ichamati, was concerned because she knew in the future this is going to lead to a problem in dressing the deities. So they all came together to figure it out how to take this sticky substance off the deity because in the shipping that would have happened. When everything was tried, nothing worked out. Mother Ichamati appointed this responsibility to Mother Janva, a young devotee, to fix this. Mother Janva, she had already proposed an idea of using a paint remover. Using a paint remover. And what was the idea with the paint remover will remove the whole paint, and along with that, everything, the sticky glue, everything will come out, and we will repaint the deities overnight. And in 2 days, you have deity installation ceremony. And she was not aware the deity is already installed deity. You cannot do like this. So the story begins now. My great offense was that I was confident that I could take all the paint of the deities and repaint them in 2 days' time. I removed all the paint from the deities. When the head pujari came back, she was in a state of shock. I said, "It's all right." But I understand I had done something in an unauthorized way. I did not know at that time that these deities were already installed, and I did not know that they had been worshipped for more than 500 years. Although not knowing did not minimize my offense. Anyway, I was painting the deities all night in Srila Prabhupada's quarters, and the next morning, deity installation had to happen, and the deities were totally wet. I was using the Japanese dryer trying to dry the paint. But I could see that something was wrong. It was not going according to the plan. So Satsarup Maharaj informed Srila Prabhupada of the situation on the morning walk. Srila Prabhupada stopped and said, "Pack my bags immediately. I am leaving this temple. You can do whatever you like with the deities, but just don't consult me." Naturally, Mother Janva, she says, she went into a suicidal state. I was emotionally crying and devastated by my offense of having acted in an unauthorized way. Then all the leaders came together for a meeting in Srila Prabhupada's room, and Srila Prabhupada asked, "Who has done it?" Everyone, without a doubt, pointed, "Prabhupada, Janva have done it. She is to be blamed." And Srila Prabhupada turned his glance to me and said, "Who told you to do this?" At that moment, I was choked with emotion. There was no question of speech coming out of my mouth. At the same time, I remembered the Srimad Bhagavatam, where the bull does not blame anyone for his condition. I could have pointed my finger to few places, but I did not. I felt that I should not do this. And from within a few, and from within, I felt that Srila Prabhupada appreciated me not blaming someone else. Srila Prabhupada asked, "Why did you do this?" Again, I was crying. I have been crying hysterically for 2 hours. Srila Prabhupada began to be disgusted with me, and he started turning his glance and his mercy away from me. I thought Krishna is kicking and his kissing is the same. I want it. Prabhupada again asked me, "Why have you done it?" And I said, "Prabhupada, I'm nonsense. What can I say?" And Prabhupada said, "Suicidal nonsense." Then he asked me, "So what is to be done about it?" Now Srila Prabhupada had changed his tone a little bit. He was calm, and Mother Janva says, I felt little let off the hook, and I said, "Prabhupada, I just called Baradaraj in LA and explained the paint is not drying, and he suggested I use." Before she could say, Srila Prabhupada said, "Baradaraj, Baradaraj, I am your spiritual master. I am sitting right in front of you. Why don't you ask me? Who is this Baradaraj?" The sound reverberations of that form of Srila Prabhupada as a servant of Lord Nrsimhadev are going out into the universe and still reverberating 40 years after to this day. It took me 2 to 3 years to calm down. It was a wonderful cleansing process. Finally, Ichamati came to Srila Prabhupada and she said, "Srila Prabhupada, if we use enamel paint, it can dry in 6 to 8 hours. Would it be all right with you if we use that kind of paint?" Srila Prabhupada said, "Do it immediately." So, anyways, there are many things that we can reflect on this beautiful thing. One thing is what Mother Janva did was without any approval. Although her service attitude mood was not wrong, but the basic principle that you cannot play with deities like anything you want. You just cannot deal with deities in a way you want to deal with it. Anything that we do with deities, Prabhupada was very particular about deities should be taken care of. Deities have been installed at one place, then deities can never be removed from there. That was Prabhupada's instruction. So how can you just do with anything with deities? And you remember how Jagannath Rath Yatra started? The very first incident was devotees thought we go out for beach walk. Poor Jagannath standing all alone, feeling suffocated in a small room. Let's take him also. And when Prabhupada came to the temple hall, Prabhupada was shocked. Are, where is Jagannath? this almost 5 feet long Jagannath is missing. Who took Jagannath? And one of the devotee came, Prabhupada, Jagannath ji has gone for morning walk on the beach. Prabhupada said, Are, DT, don't go for morning walk. Re, what are you doing? And then Prabhupada called all of them back. So these are all constitute to offenses. Of course, in case of them, they were not knowing and Prabhupada was there, so that could be handled. But these are the some of the aspects. So let's go back to the presentation quickly. Let's take some of the things about the importance of deity worship as Srila Prabhupada have explained and why we should take it. Benefits of deity worship. Significance of the Lord descending in the deity form. The form of the Lord as worshipped in the temples is called Archa Vigraha or Archa Avatar, the worshipable form, the deity incarnation. The deity form is a spiritual form of Lord visible to our material eyes so that we can serve Him, awaken love for Him. All neophytes must therefore engage in the worship of the Lord by keeping the Arj Vigraha at home or in the temple. Prabhupada in his purpose have expressed that every grahastha, at least those who live far away from the temple, who cannot go to temple every day, must have deity and must to engage in deity worship. And now you know why, because it puts it into a lot of cultural limitations. What you can do, what you cannot do. You cannot speak loudly. You cannot speak lie, etc., etc. And if you look at it, all the great Vaishnavas emphasized on deity worship. Madhvacharya established Udupi Krishna, Ramanujacharya worshipped Ranganath, Shankaracharya traveled all over the Bharatvarsha and established different deities. He established Badri Vishal, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worshipped Jagannathji. So deity worship is very much part of our bhakti process. What is deity worship? God is spirit, but as Krishna reveals in Bhagavad Gita, matter is also his energy. Because we cannot perceive spirit in our present condition, Krishna allows us to see him in his deity form made of material elements which is identical to him. I don't have the photos with me, but if you can carefully look at this photo, this is the deities of a congregation from Pakistan. And they are known all over the world for their deity worship. They dress and decorate deities even far much more beautiful than any ISKCON temple. Uh, I have the photos of that. I just realized seeing the photo. I'll share those photos if I can find it. You look at every morning for hours together, Mataji would decorate Gopi Chandan or Gopi Tilak on both Krishna and Radharani's face. And every day they have a full morning program, changing the deity dress. Twice in a day, morning, evening, they change the dress and in the most opulent, the beautiful way. And you know where is all happening? Pakistan, like this. Deity worship is an important process because it purifies our vision to see Krishna's spiritual form. Tangible way to serve God, to gain attention, devotion over devotion service. Deity worship is not idol worship, but is worship of the Lord according to his instructions. And there are many other points which I mentioned, which I would say I will share the presentation. You can take a look at it. But here I want to add a very important point about the importance of deity worship or engaging in seva. One thing that deity worship does is it immediately changes our level of absorption. I'll give you one my simple experience. Uh, my first engagement with deity worship was prasadam cooking. But in that also, I would not, prasadam cooking about how do you know if deity liked or not liked. So, there is a little limited experience. But of course, we have to cook for deity. So, I would a little bit think about it. But the major service that gave me an experience was not something very significant. I would say it was the most insignificant service. And that service was for a few months, one devotee was traveling out of Columbus who had a seva of every week going and buying flowers for the deities. You would not believe how this service affected me. So I was given this service every Saturday or Sunday afternoon. I had to go for a few hours. It was a little long journey, 1.5 hour away or something, to go to a place, buy flowers, and come back, bring it back, and keep it in the storeroom, the cooler room. And those flowers were used for rest of the week for making garlands for deity worship. Just this simple service, going and buying flowers. Although I was not picking flowers according to my choice, I was given the list. These are the flowers you have to pick. And the order was already placed in advance. I had to just go and just collect it and maybe just walk around that whole place. But you will not believe, just picking up flowers and bringing flowers to the temple, it affected me so much. Next time, even on weekdays, if I'll go out and if I would see flowers, I'll see, oh, it will look so nice on Krishna. I was not making the garlands. I was not even plucking the flowers. Wherever I saw flower, I saw, oh, such a nice flower. It will look so nice on Krishna. Prior to this service, I never ever had this experience and connection that this flower would look for good for Krishna. So please understand, devotees, it is not a subject matter of if a service is in a limelight service or is a background service. Any service in relation to Krishna is extremely purifying. And I can tell you, I had never felt so blissful in my life. My conscience entirely changed. Wherever you look, and in America, there's a lot of greenery. You would often find, flowers everywhere. Imagine I could see Krishna everywhere now, because the moment I see flower, Krishna will come into my conscience. Hey, this flower looks so nice. Just a simple thing. So imagine now you do deity worship. Now deity worship involves many other things. It's bringing new dresses for the deities. Now, when you engage in deity worship, imagine you go out to buy something for you. You cannot not buy for your deities. When you go and buy something for yourself, you say, hey, what about my deities? First, deities has to have something. Imagine your shopping has transformed into bhakti. Like this, deity worship has a great advantages. All right, let's move forward. We'll cover chapter 8 today only. Let's cover the next subject matter. Somebody else would like to read who have not read until now? We are back onto the book. We're going to read now other rules that one should not offer foodstuff from the next paragraph. Some local devotees want to read from here, they can also read. Other rules, next paragraph. Yeah.
Other rules are that one should not.
Devotees can hear online? Varun Pru's voice? Yeah, sound is okay.
Yes.
Other rules are that one should not offer foodstuff which is cooked by a known Vaishnava. One should not worship the deity before a known devotee, and one should not engage himself in the worship of the Lord while seeing a known devotee. One should begin the worship of the demigod Ganpati, who drives away all impediments in the execution of devotional service. In the Brahm Samhita, it is stated that Ganpati worships the lotus feet of the Lord Narsimhadev, and in that way has become auspicious for the devotees in clearing out all impediments. Therefore, all devotees should worship Ganpati.
Hare Krishna. Therefore, all devotees should worship Ganpati. One should begin the worship of demigod Ganpati. In how many ISKCON temples have you seen Ganpati being worshipped? And this is written by Srila Rupa Goswami. So, you can imagine somebody would have raised this question to Prabhupada. So, there are different instances that happen. Let me share one instance that happened. So, there was a bus party led by His Holiness Guru Kripa Maharaj. And in his bus party, he had kept the Murti of Ganeshi. And they were worshipping Ganeshi according to this instruction here. And they were doing fantastic. They were doing tremendous book distribution and fund collection. Seeing that, one devotee, when he read this, and when he heard from another devotee that how His Holiness Guru Kripa Maharaj is doing like this, he thought, I got the secret. Worship Ganeshji, and Ganeshji will remove all impediments and make you malamal. So, he also decided to set up Ganesh worship for his project in Japan. But he thought, although Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says, so पूछने में क्या जाता है? Prabhupada is not going to say no because it is written, and Prabhupada is writing, this is Prabhupada always saying, what Prabhupada says, therefore all devotees should worship Ganpati. And the culture is you don't do anything without asking Prabhupada or without taking permission from authority, right? Prabhupada was the authority. So this devotee with full confidence wrote a letter that Prabhupada is going to sanction. He wrote a letter, Srila Prabhupada ji, we want to take your blessing. We have brought Ganpati deity and we are installing the deity and we wanted your blessing so that we can start worship. Prabhupada writes a beautiful lesson, a beautiful letter. Wait. I would have the letter also. If I can show you the letter, 1 second. And the letter is here. This is the letter. Okay, I don't know how much you can see in the letter. Prabhupada writes, My dear sons, this was a whole party. And Prabhupada said, please accept my blessings. I am in the due receipt of your letter, December 6, 1974, and have noted the contents carefully. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshashami Masucha. So, why you want to worship someone else? Krishna himself recommends Mamekam, he alone. Therefore, we must do like that. If one wants to water the tree, he waters the root. There is no necessity of watering the branches. The demigods are all different parts of the universal form of the Supreme Lord. But Krishna is even more than that whole complete universal form. He is the origin of that universal form. Therefore, I do not encourage you to worship the Devata Ganesh. It is not required. It is not necessary. Simply worship Krishna. Perform nice devotional service to Krishna. Then your life will certainly become perfect. Of course, if one has got some sentiment for achieving the blessings of Ganesha, for accumulating large sums of money to serve Krishna, then he may perform this Ganesh worship privately, not making a public show. But first of all, so Prabhupada is saying, okay, you want to do it? You can. But first of all, he must give me $100,000 per month, not a single farthing less. If he can simply supply this amount, again Prabhupada repeat, 100,000 US dollar per month, then he will be allowed to do this Ganesh Puja. Otherwise, he should not do it. It will not be good. That is my order. Now, what do you understand of this? 100,000 US dollars back in 1970 is an impossible amount of figure. So Prabhupada is saying, if still you insist on worshipping Ganeshji, then you have to give me 100,000 US dollar. So either you raise that much fund to worship Ganeshji, if not, then you leave it. So all of you keep yourself strong in Krishna consciousness, following all of my basic principles. That is of utmost importance. Do not fail to chant 16 hours daily. Rise early, come to Mangalati, come to classes, follow the 4 regular principles. In this way, your life will become free from all anxieties. Please try to distribute my books in huge quantities, etc., etc. And when the devotee received the letter, he expressed, that was the last day we ever thought of Ganeshji thereafter. After that, we never ever thought about Ganeshji like this. Anyways, like this, there are many, many evidences. Prabhupada says, my dear Sudama Das Goswami, the Ganesh Puja may not be performed. No, it is not to be done. No need of it. My dear Shivananda, so far worshipping Ganesh is concerned, that is not necessary, not that it should be done on a regular basis. If you like, you can pray to Ganpati for removing all impediments on the path of Krishna consciousness. That you can do if you like. Like this, there are many references mentioned. That is the subject matter so far. Please change it. So this is what about the subject matter. With this, we come to the conclusion of chapter 8, like this. And then finally, we don't complete chapter 8 actually. Then the final section of chapter 8 is Nama Aparad, where 10 offenses which are mentioned. We'll take this forward in our next discussion next week. We'll club this discussion on Nama Aparad along with chapter 9 because they're connected together. Fine. So that's the subject matter. That's it. So although it is mentioned here, so the point here is scriptures may say many things, but ultimately one has to follow one's acharya. According to time, place, circumstances, things may be adjusted and we have to follow that. So Srila Prabhupada said, no, Ganesh worship is not needed, which means not needed. Although Srila Rupa Goswami included that. And what could be the situation, time, place, circumstances? Because anyways, we were so much confused by Devta worship and so much conditioning was there. If Prabhupada would have to introduce this, then along with Ganeshji, the family of Ganeshji would have also come. Shivji and Parvati. And then Kartikeya would also have come. Along with Kartikeya, then Indradev would have also come. Then Varun, then Vayu. Then it becomes a regular Hindu temple. Because then one idea leads to another idea. Prabhupada had nothing doing, just only focus on one thing like that. That was the situation. All right. So with that, I'd like to pause here. Thank you all for your kind attention. Our one discussion on Nama Prad, we discussed Seva Prad so far. Nama Prad is remaining. We'll take it next week along with the chapter 9. Uh, Please, devotees, do read this subject matters. So you may have some doubt. We can always take it up for question answers. And then there is chapter 10, techniques for hearing and remembering. We'll try to cover 9 and 10 in our next week discussion. Hare Krishna. If anyone has anything to clarify, we can take some questions here. Yes, please, Agni Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Mother Shamali, just coming to you. Agni Prabhu, go ahead.
In the book on page 77, there is point number 18. One should not be charitable to beggars before the deity. Just wanted to understand what is the idea behind it.
I mean, I also don't know details for all of these points like this. One should not be charitable to, I don't know about it. I don't see any situation also like this arise. But there are many things I mentioned. Whatever is mentioned, I know of it. Some of the pastimes that are in relation to these, I tried discussing that. I don't know. And plus, I have not practically seen any situation like this where there are beggars coming to the temple and all that. I don't know. Anything else? All right. Online devotees, Mother Shama Vallabi. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Prabhupada has discouraged people from, devotees from worshipping Ganeshji, but then why has it been mentioned in, the NOD basically
Yeah.
over here, and why is it saying? There should be
See,
some reason, right?
correct. The point is Ganeshji, who is known as Vigna Vinashak, who drives away all impediments in one's life, actually drives all his strength from Lord Nrsimhadev. So he's a devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev. Now, Srila Prabhupada ji have already introduced Nrsimhadev in our daily practice and daily life. So every morning we anyways chant Nrsimha prayers. When we are taking already a shelter of Nrsimhadev, who is empowering Ganeshji, then there is no need to go and take shelter of Ganeshji. Because Ganeshji is driving all his strength for Nrsimhadev. Therefore, Prabhupada mentioned a point in a letter, right? If you can water the root, the letter we were reading, Prabhupada said, if you can water the root, then why you want to water the branch? So, nowhere so far it is mentioned that you should worship Nrsimhadev, right? But Srila Prabhupada instituted Nrsimhadev. See, okay, let me ask this again. Does anyone know in what situation Srila Prabhupada instituted Nrsimha prayer? What was the history? Mayapur. What happened in
Yeah,
Mayapur?
yeah,
Attack.
actually,
When the lives of the
he was
devotees were
not.
threatened. Correct. When the lives of the devotees were threatened, then Srila Prabhupada said, well, now let's chant Nrsimha Aarti. Let's take shelter of the Lord. And that's the time Prabhupada said, temple can also keep some weapons to protect themselves. So like that, things have been introduced. All right, Mother?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Tanvat Pranam. Prabhuji, like we discussed on that point, paying off obeisances to the Lord when the darshans are closed. So, I want to know one scenario where we are going to have darshans, and it's just not ISKCON temple. Let's say we are in Vrindavan and kahin temple gaye, and darshans are closed. So, from the very far side, some other end, we are just paying obeisances, and then we are going to other temple. So can we do that at least, or
Say the last
not
thing. What
doing
was your
any,
last thing?
not going close to the Lord and then paying obeisances like usually we do. Instead, from the far end, we are paying obeisances and then we are going to further temple.
I mean,
As we have
if it
come to
is
this
outside
temple,
of
but
temple hall, generally in that scenario, you can offer your respect because you have that strong emotion. Then you can offer outside of the temple. We should not go inside the temple and offer obeisances. Then we can offer from outside the temple. Just it's more of a ritual that, okay, I feel like we offer from outside. That's okay. That's fine. But at least, but not inside the temple. Why in
Hare
all
Krishna,
artis
Prabhuji.
we stand up and during Nasimati we sit down? Any explanation or reason for it? That's a pretty interesting question. Generally in artis, all artis we have to stand because arti means the king is worshipped. When the king is worshipped, everyone has to stand up to welcome. That's the idea about it. Nasimha Arti, we sit down in Nasimha Arti because that's the only Arti we kind of sit down. Actually, the whole idea of Nasimha Arti is we praying to the Lord for protection. We're not welcoming the Lord, actually. So that could be one reason, you know, therefore, there's not requirement to be standing up. And of course, there is no law as such. Maybe the culture happened from the beginning. The devotees will sit down, you know, just, you know what happens? You offer Mangalati, and Mangalati के बाद आप प्रणाम करते हो. प्रणाम करने के बाद natural position is to sit. So it could have been just natural way that while sitting, you're doing Nasimati because there is no need to stand up for Nasimati. And of course, when Aarti is going on, then there was a culture introduced when you offer incense to the Lord. That is also added. You know, it's not that Nasim Aarti mein incense offer karna hi hai. That may be the practice now, but there's just no requirement of that. So it's just more of thing which has been principally set. Um, I don't know if there is a specific injunction. Nasim Aarti बैठ जाओ. तुलसी आरती खड़े हो जाओ. Idea is Aarti means you should stand up. Okay. Okay. Yes. Who was saying this? Nikhil Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, I just wanted to talk about the offenses from Vara Puran, the point number
Your
14.
voice is low.
It's
Can you speak it loudly?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Prabhuji, the offenses from Vara Puran, the point number 14, it says one should not enter the temple after seeing a dead body.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, if we are going to temple, and suppose I'm from Varanasi, so I have seen,
No. The idea after
there,
seeing a dead body and all those things has a simple meaning that we get, our mind gets affected by it. The simple idea is when you go in front of the deity, we should remember the deity. We should glorify the deity. It's not that while going in
yes,
front of the deity, we're remembering the dead body. If our mind has got contaminated, that's called contamination of the mind. We are carrying impure thoughts. Then purify yourself and then enter. That's the idea about it. Okay. Again, I begin this
okay,
conversation by saying all the rules are subservient to always remember Krishna, do not forget Krishna. In that perspective, you should see all this thing. Okay.
okay,
Mother Shivani.
yes, thank you.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु प्रभु लाइक हमने बात की थी ना जब परिवार में कोई नए बच्चे का जन्म होता है या तो फिर किसी की मृत्यु होती है तो हमको वो 12-13 दिन हम पूजा नहीं करते तो जब फैमिली बहुत बड़ी हो कभी किसी का जन्म कभी मृत्यु होती रहती है तो फिर ऐसे केस में हम घर पे डेली वर्शिप कर सकते हैं या नहीं या मंदिर जाना चाहिए या
We don't have any strict adherence of these in our current practice. When this kind of question was asked to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, just out of respect for these customs in the eyes of public, we should take care of it. You know what may happen sometimes is you may feel like, oh, I don't, anyways, I'm detached. It doesn't matter. You know, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi, chale gaye. But then your family member may look at you and say, Arey, how insensitive she is or he is. You know, he or she pretends to be a bhakta but doesn't understand this basic thing because some people are too much caught up with rules. You should not go to temple. Why are they going to temple? I mean, you create kalesh. Better than that is chant. Ultimately, the goal is namasmaran. Chant at your home and sit at your home and chant. So, like that, Papa said, be sensitive to your social setup also. Don't become outrageous. If in case we can be that strong and not get affected, so be it. Now, for example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to क्या कहते हैं वो for his final rites of his to what is that Gaya. Now Prabhupada writes in the purport Prabhupada Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't go to Gaya to कहते हैं वो to perform the final rites क्या कहते हैं उसको अस्थि श्राद्ध. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't go for performing Shraddha. I mean, why the Lord need to perform Shraddha? That was an excuse that he gave to his family to go and meet his spiritual master. So now we say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did Shraddha, हमें भी करना चाहिए Shraddha. Okay, if in case that's a family situation, do it. What's your problem? These are all Vedic things, na? Okay, but if in case it's not, then it's not needed. We don't have any such injunctions to do that. There is a flexibility given. It's more idea of
प्रभु जी ज्यादातर वो
respectful, having respectful dealings. Yes, what's the next point?
मैं आई वाज सेइंग कि ज्यादातर जब किसी नए बच्चे का जन्म होता है ना तो भी फिर घर पे पूजा वगैरह बंद कर देते हैं सब तो उसके लिए ऐसा लगता है कि क्या मतलब वही है कि आपने जैसे बताया कि पब्लिक मतलब आपको अपने फैमिली से भी जुड़ के रहना चाहिए, तो उनके इमोशंस के लिए हम ना करें तो ठीक है।
I mean, but the basic thing still should continue. Offering of the food to the Lord, you chanting the holy names of the Lord, that cannot be stopped. Okay,
ओके
Mother Radha.
या प्रभु जी, ये जो बनियान की जो पूजा है, मैंने तो इस्कॉन में नहीं देखा। अपने को यहाँ एक पॉइंट आया था ना, वो बरगद के पेड़ की पूजा,
Yeah,
तुलसी एंड
Tulsi worship we do, right?
या बट बनियान ट्री भी नेवर डू ना।
Just keep doing Tulsi, that is enough.
ओके
वही हम पे
ठीक है,
काफी है.
हरे
Why to take so many things? All right. Yes, Mother.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Pranam Prabhuji. Prabhuji, here in one point it is mentioned that we should read Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, but we should not read any other Acharya's books also. So
No, no,
cannot
no.
we?
It wasn't
I
mentioned.
mean,
It
other
wasn't.
books are not required. So
Just to clarify, it was not mentioned like that. What was mentioned that rather than reading so many books, a devotee can just read these books and he would be happy. It was not mentioned in relation to Acharya's books. It was mentioned in relation to many people read many kinds of books, self-help book, etc., etc. Just read these fundamental books. These are not fundamental. These are from fundamental to advanced. These are more than enough to know anything and everything. And once we have read it nicely, then with our guidance of our seniors, we can refer to Acharya's commentaries and other Acharya's books. For example, just reading Nectar Devotion, we're having this question about बरगद के पेड़ की पूजा नहीं होती, गणेश जी को क्यों नहीं पूछते? We need somebody under guidance to read, na? Otherwise, so many doubts will come. All right?
yeah, very true. Prabhuji, one more point here from Varapuran, it is mentioned that point number 21, one should not enter the deity room or touch the body of the deity after having smudged oil over his body.
Yeah, so actually that is
So,
called as,
why so?
yeah, that is, in general, it's an unclean state. Whenever we put a oil, one should take bath. And after bath, we don't put oil on our body. Even hair oil and all that, that is considered contamination. So all this thing has to be done before bath, during the bath, but after the bath, we don't do all these things.
Okay, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, sorry, but then we put some moisturizer and cream. So,
So
after the bath,
in
so
case
should
of deity worship, we can be as much as pure state. That is recommended. Of course, this face cream and all those kind of moisturizer. I don't know what used to happen 500 years ago. Those are not mentioned. But oils are the things which people earlier would put on their body. There was not the concept of hair on only, but it was oil which they would put on apply on their bodies also. So when it said not to do it means because this is an external source, it adds contamination. After deity worship, do that then. If somebody needs for, let's say have to go to professional life and all that, then we can, at least for the time of deity worship, we can be in as much as pure state. That's the point. All right.
thank you for clarifying.
Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much.
Mother Chintamani will take your question as the last question. If in case you have it, your hand is up.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I just wanted to ask that you do not pay respects to anyone in front of the deity. But when the spiritual master or some senior like that enters, so what should be the attitude?
So we discussed that point during that time. This question was asked to Srila Prabhupada. During Srila Prabhupada's Guru Puja was going on. At the end of it, one devotee asked Prabhupada, in Nectar Devotion, this is mentioned like this. Prabhupada said, Are Krishna is already very famous. Your little glorification is not going to increase or reduce his fame. But Krishna becomes more pleased when he sees his devotees are being glorified. And that glorification of devotees are also done in relation to Krishna because we are seeing them as devotees. Devotee of whom? Krishna. So when we glorify devotee, we are glorifying Krishna also. So that pleases Krishna more.
Okay. Yes, Prabhu. That point came up. Yes. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Rupa Goswami ki, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki. Jai. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll continue next week, Saturday, same timing. Hare Krishna.